We heal as a team, we're going to crumble. Inch by inch, play by play, till we're finished. We're in hell right now, gentlemen, believe me. And we can stay here, get the shit kicked out of us, or we can fight our way back into the light. We can climb out of hell. 1 inch at a time. You know, when you get old in life, things get taken from you. I mean, that's part of life. But you only learn that when you start losing stuff. You find out life's this game of inches. So is football. Because in either game, life or football, the margin for error is so small. I mean, 1/2 a step too late or too early, and you don't quite make it. 1/2 second too slow, too fast, you don't quite catch it. The inches we need are everywhere around us. They're in every break of the game, every minute, every second. On this team, we fight for that inch. On this team, we tear ourselves and everyone else around us to pieces for that inch. We claw our fingernails for that inch. Because we know when we add up all those inches, that's going to make the fucking difference between winning and losing. Between living and dying. I'll tell you this, in any fight, it's the guy who's willing to die who's going to win that inch. And I know if I'm going to have any life anymore, it's because I'm still willing to fight and die for that inch. Because that's what living is. There's 6 inches in front of your face. Now I can't make you do it. You got to look at the guy next to you. Look into his eyes. Now I think you're going to see a guy who will go that inch with you. You're going to see a guy who will sacrifice himself for this team because he knows when it comes down to it, you're going to do the same for him. That's a team, gentlemen. And either we heal now as a team, or we will die as individuals.
Ideas are bulletproof.
Yes, they are. Ideas are bulletproof. The ideas of freedom, fairness, and justice are bulletproof. They're more than words, they are perspectives. To quote V from V for Vendetta. Remember that. Freedom, fairness, and justice are more than words, they are perspectives. They are a way you look at things and how you live your life. And everybody should have the chance to freedom, fairness, and justice. Everybody from the richest of the rich to the poorest of the poor, we are all equal. I'm not better than anybody because I do a radio show 3 days a week. These scumbag elites aren't better than me because they run things. It just so happens that they're in that position right now and they've finagled their way into that position. It doesn't mean that they're better than anybody. We're all equal. We're all human. We're all on the same team. Remember that. Welcome to the show, guys. Today's August 12th. It is Friday. This is Down the Rabbit Hole, and I'm your host, Popeye, from FederalJack.com. Today, I'm going to be going over the news, and I'm going to be covering the Iowa straw poll from last night, or the Iowa straw polls tomorrow. The Iowa debate, I should say. The GOP debate from Iowa. I'm going to cover a little bit about that and some of the antics that are going on with Ron Paul and how he's being censored by the mainstream media. And while I'm discussing all this, I'm going to be joined by my good friend, fellow radio show host, researcher, webmaster, and, as I said before, close personal friend of mine in real life, off air, Mr. Michael Vale. Mike, say hello to everybody.
Hello, everybody. I'm glad to be here, man. Thanks for having me on.
You and your radio show voice, I love it. Did you see the debate last night, Mike, with Ron Paul and the rest of them?
No, I have a thing where I just have to ignore that kind of stuff because when I see those people other than Ron Paul, I see those people, I really want to smash a TV set or start cutting on something.
Well, I didn't watch the debate. I can't watch that stuff either, but I watched the videos of it. I watched the debate after it was put up on YouTube. And Ron Paul won the debate. I'm sorry. Hands down, he slapped the piss out of everybody else in there. And I'm not a Ron Paul guy. I don't go to the caucus meetings and those other stuff. And once in a while, I'll go to a Ron Paul meeting. But I'm not, I don't have any Ron Paul bumper stickers on my car. I will vote for him for president, though, because if he gets either in the which I doubt he'll get the Republican nomination, so he'll probably have to run independent. But I'll vote for him because I know that there's a lot of people out there who vote for him, and people say that he won't win. How do you know that? You're defeating yourself by saying that right off the bat. Oh, he won't win, so I have to vote for a Mitt Romney or a Rick Perry, and that's not true, because if you go, like, Fox News had a poll. I made a video about this. It's called Fox News Replaces and Removes 2 polls showing Ron Paul as the winner of the Iowa debate. In fact, I already put it in the chat room. But if you go to my YouTube channel, Federal Jack Tube 6, Federal Jack Tube and the number 6, you'll see it. It's one of the most recently updated videos. Anyway, they had 2 polls on their website, and Ron Paul, by a landslide, Mike, won both of them. I mean, he crushed everybody by over 40%. One of the polls, it was 47%, over 47% he had. And everybody else had like these pissant little numbers, little percentage numbers. So they yanked that poll, and then the other poll that they had up, they swapped with a poll that was, who would you rather see debate President Obama? And he won that poll too.
See, they did the very same thing, back in 2008, where Hannity was flipping out, saying the Ron Paul people had hacked, the polls and everything else, because, he's not a war hawk, okay? He's not looking to bomb everybody, who looks brown. So, they need somebody there to do that. That's their job. That's the Republican mythos. So, obviously, someone who's talking about freedom, someone talking about getting the hell out of these stupid wars and all these damn embassies across the world, you're definitely not going to be loved by the mainstream media, loved by GE, Viacom, and the rest of them.
Well, now they're just outright ignoring it. Like, I was listening to I was running around doing errands, and I went and got a cup of coffee before the show tonight, and I was listening to the talk radio. I think it's 640 WIOD down here. Anyway, any South Floridians will know what I'm talking about. Anyway, Hannity's retarded program was on, and he's talking, we're here at the Iowa fair and blah, 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 and I'm going to eat, corn dogs and all this other crap. And he's like, we're going to have, I think he's got Pawlenty coming on, Herman Cain, and a couple other people. Nothing about Ron Paul. Last night, he has 2 callers call in. Obviously, these sounded staged, but both callers were like, yeah, I think Newt Gingrich hands down won the debate last night. I'm like, Newt Gingrich won the debate? What planet are you on? Like, where do you live? I'd like to know what alternate reality you live in, so I can see how awesome this place is.
See, Newt Gingrich is the Fred Thompson from 2008, okay? Like, completely useless. No one interested in him. He's got no energy. He's got no passion. He's a corpse, okay? They put him in the closet.
He's running on his stuff from the 90s. I mean, God, dude.
I've been on TV. Vote for me. That's probably enough to get you elected.
Yeah, dude. And then, somebody put in the chat room, I thought Rick Perry won. I watched Fox, and you get it. Rick Perry didn't even go to the debate. So, and, Perry is apparently announcing his run for president, and I gotta give credit where credit is due, man. Alex Jones called this back in his movie Endgame in 2008 when they had the Bilderberg meeting in Chantilly, Virginia, and what's his name? Perry showed up, And he begged, or it was it Chantilly? No, it wasn't Virginia because it was before that. I think it was the one in Canada that he showed up at. It was either Virginia or Canada. You have to check it, but it was one of the Bilderberg meetings. He showed up, and Jones called it and said Perry is licking the boots of Bilderberg so he can run for president in 2012. And everybody was like, no. He came out and did a video like a month and a half ago, and a lot of people were behind it, but a lot of people were saying, Alex, you're blah, blah, blah. And I rarely go on radio and defend him, but I got to say, Jones was right, man. He called it in Endgame, and he called it like a month and a half ago. He said, you watch, Perry's going to run. And here you go. Rick Perry, Mr. I'm not going to run for president. He promised he wasn't going to run for president, is now admitting he's going to run for president. Talk about a two-faced Bilderberg piece of crap. We're going to break. We'll be right back. Stay tuned. Welcome back, guys. Before we were interrupted by the break, I was discussing the Iowa debate last night. And before I go any further into, Mitt Romney and the rest of them, guys, Herman Cain is not your friend. This guy used to work for the Federal Reserve. Warning, red flag.
Danger, Will Robinson. Danger.
Yeah, do you need Robbie the Robot to tell you that there's a problem? You know what I'm saying? Jesus. This guy used to work for the Federal Reserve. That should automatically disqualify him. Okay? If there's ever a disqualifying factor for running for president, you're like, what have you done? You worked for the Federal Reserve? You can't run. I'm sorry. You're fired. You're out. What do you mean? I worked for the Fed. Exactly. That's like having herpes. You got to go.
I mean, look, it's crazy. That guy gives off some creepy vibes. I mean,
he's a piece of crap, dude. Stossel. I did a show on this a couple weeks ago, and I talked about this. Stossel had him on his show, and he was challenged by this liberal reporter who sometimes I know the reporter, and I've challenged some of his stuff, over the years too. But I got to give him credit. He was right. And he said to Herman Cain right on Stossel's show, he was like, look, dude, what do you feel about the war on drugs? Don't you think we should end it? It's 40 years. Don't you think we should just legalize it and regulate? And he was like, no, we should continue the war on drugs, if not escalate it, And
oh, my God.
Like, just Jesus, man. Like, are you for real? So Herman Cain, this is what I chalked him up to on that show. I said that Herman Cain was the New World Order's answer to Ron Paul. What they did was they took Barack Obama and Ron Paul and mixed them up in a pot, and out came Herman Cain. Okay, actually, they didn't mix Ron Paul. They took Ron Paul's ideas, mixed it in with a little bit of Newt Gingrich and all of Barack Obama, and that's what Herman Cain is. Okay, Herman Cain is another black man running for president. And this guy, and it's not like Obama did. He's running on the first black president's coattails. I'm doing air quotes. He's doing it to try to say, look, I'm a black guy, but I'm for liberty and freedom. So I'm the good black guy. Vote for me. Okay? That should be more insulting to you than anything else. Herman Cain is a complete piece of crap, and that's about the nicest thing I could say on air. Because I really want to – I'd really like to say a few things that would probably get Jimmy X in trouble with the FCC. So – I have to curb my tone a little bit, when it comes to swearing. But Cain's a piece of crap. I mean, he's like an anal wart. He's useless.
Like, why would you want to continue, 30, 40 years of failed policy, okay, that has made things worse, in Mexico, made things worse on these border towns in Texas, and in Mexico, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, it's like, Herman Cain's like a snake, okay? I mean, you look at the guy and you get those creepy vibes like, he's definitely not your friend. and he doesn't even try to act like he's your friend. You know, he's just like, you know, to me, like you said, he's kind of like the sort of like anti-hero. You know,
well, yeah, you can see he's fake, and I know a lot of people. I have good friends that are like, man, I like this Herman Cain guy, and I'm like, oh no, don't fall for this crap. You know, like, don't. These people are a trap to get you to not vote for Ron Paul. These people are to break up his numbers. Like Ron Paul said about Rick Perry last night. They said, do you think Rick Perry is he's defeating you guys by not, announcing after this whole debate? And Ron Paul was like, no, personally, I think maybe he did, he was afraid to stand up to the challenge, which brought applause. And then he said, I'm glad that Rick Perry's joining because it does me a favor because he's just as establishment as the rest of these morons. So he'll split their votes up. He's not going to pull any votes from me because he's not like me, and he said it. See, Ron, I noticed one thing about Paul last night as compared to back in '08. He's more sure of himself this time because he's got more of a backing. He's more confident because he knows that the citizens of this country agree with what he's talking about. He knows. You can see it.
The only problem with Ron Paul is that while I love the man, I love a lot of his policies, but it just seems to me that while you have the media, of course, trying to basically crucify the man, I don't think he's willing to go full tilt boogie on it. I don't think he's really willing to take it and say screw the Republicans. Well,
I gotta say he's leaning towards that direction, at least from what I can see. But go on.
Well, I mean, you think about like what happened last year, okay? Like they cut a deal with him and the Republicans to say, okay, if you don't get the nomination, that you won't go third party, and then you'll be able to keep your seat as a congressman, okay? If you're gonna try to win an election, really win an election, okay, you shouldn't be worried about your seat, okay? You should just like go out there full board and try to go for it. And honestly, the money he handed over, to the other guy, I forget his name. He lives in Pensacola, Florida, near me. He runs a church and all this kind of stuff. He really doesn't seem to be willing to go full board. And, it's kind of like a half-in, half-out scenario. And honestly, the people are behind him. It just he needs people who are behind him as well as far as handling the money and handling the campaign, who are also willing to go full tilt boogie.
Well, I think if we could, he's going. It looks like he's headed more towards full tilt boogie than he was in '08. And if you notice, he's not running for re-election as a congressman. So that way, he's not bound that if he doesn't get the Republican nomination, that's it. He doesn't get it. He can. Yeah. If he doesn't get it, he can run as an independent. So if he runs as an independent, it's on. First of all, if he gets the Republican nomination, I doubt he will. But if he did, they would put all the effort they could into just, attacking him and everything else. And I would actually fear for his life. Guys, people need to volunteer to be bodyguards for him because if he does get to be if Ron Paul gets to be elected president, we need to guard him as civilians and citizens. We need to help guard him because I guarantee you the scumbag Secret Service will do the same thing they did to John F. Kennedy, and they will stand down and let somebody blow his head off. Okay?
Honestly, I think that the chances of Ron Paul being nominated by these Republicans is about as much chance as it raining blood. Yeah, honestly, these guys, we all know what these guys represent as far as Republicans are concerned. So,
I guarantee you there's going to be a ton of vote fraud this year or this election.
Oh, look, and the media is going to be like, they're going to be diverting everything. Mm-hmm. You won't be able to really, to do a lot.
Look for more Casey Anthony BS. Look for more stars getting in trouble. Look for more mindless, brain-numbing bullcrap to be published while they rape you, they anally violate you, while looking at you in the face and smiling and saying, we're your friends. We're your friends. Like I said last time you were on the show. 3 biggest lies in the world. And ladies listening, if you get offended, I'll bleep it, but it's going to, you're gonna have to deal with it. And any men that get offended, well, you're just being a pussy. The 3 biggest lies in the world. I told you this last week when you were hanging out with me. The check is in the mail. I won't bleep in your mouth. And I'm from your government, and I'm here to help you. 3 biggest lies ever told on the planet Earth. Well, that and a few things by the Catholic Church and New World Order, the White House, the Federal Reserve, and a few other things. But we'll be right back, guys. Stay tuned.
What you did that day, killed your own citizens to advance your ways. All my real patriots stand up and say 9/11 was an inside job. They lie, they scam, they cheat and steal. They plot, they fund, they act, it's real. They watch, they hunt, they punish and
kill. Welcome back, guys. We're discussing the Iowa presidential debate from August 11th, 2011. That was yesterday. Today's the 12th. It's Friday. And I got to say, the mainstream media is just completely ignoring the fact that Ron Paul, hands down, won that debate. He won the debate. Fox News had their own polls up, and then they, of course, pulled them down because off the site. And if you still have the links, you could probably get to them, but the polls themselves are gone. And that's because they didn't want anybody to see the fact that Paul had over 47% of the vote. Now, this was a presidential election that would clearly, very clearly be a win, especially considering I guarantee if you put him against Obama would have maybe 35, 40% of the vote. Because you got to remember, not everybody votes. And a lot of people aren't going to vote this year. The trade unionists are saying, we're not going to vote at all. We're going to abstain from voting because we're pissed at Obama. Votes are going to be rigged. They're going to be stolen. The guy that did the code and everything, he testified that the code was hidden inside the source code for the code for his little program to switch the votes if it was a close vote was hidden inside the source code of the Diebold voting machines. And the only way you would know it was there if you had access to get into the source code. And Diebold told Congress, you can have access to everything but the source code. Well, gee, that's not suspicious, right? But let's not check into that. Let's just let that go. It's unadulterated horse pucky. You know what I'm saying, Mike?
You know what? There was a thing. I'm gonna have to send it to you. It was a little graphic. Well, they said that those little slot machines in Vegas have more oversight than election voting machines. Okay, I mean they have county commissioners coming in, checking them all the time, verifying that they're legitimate. I'm sure some of that, even that, still is like I say, pretty much rigged to some degree, but there is some oversight on those voting those brain fart here today. I don't know what it was. Maybe it's the time of day, but the slot machines. And so, like you said, there was a guy in Tallahassee who went to jail, was a hacker, who just admitted. I saw it on YouTube a while back, a few years ago. Who just said, they're made for rigged elections. They're made to rig elections. They're built for fraud. Okay, you can access and change votes wirelessly. Bottom line,
dude. Was it 2008? One of our guys, Brent, went. He's the guy he's my little partner in crime, as it were, the one that goes out and does the street actions with me. And he went to the where he lives in his apartment building. He lives in one of these huge high-rise buildings that's like a fancy, dancy building, and his building is actually a polling place for voting. So every time there's an election, that's actually where I go to vote, is because that's where I'm closest to is his building. So anyway, he went down into where they had everything set up for the 2008 during the presidential election and leading up to it. During just like it is now, 15 months, starting like 07, going up to 08. So whenever there was like a primary or anything, they were there. Well, right before the presidential election itself, he went down with a video camera to prove how easy he could get in there and screw with the machines. Because he's like, dude, they're unlocked and they're just wide open. And remember, they admitted that they use the memory cards and they pull them out, and then they have a central laptop that they download all the votes to.
Yeah.
Well, right away, that's like 15 different ways that you could already, that it could have been interrupted and screwed with. It's not like you have, how come – I'll get off on this as a side subject for a second. How come when you have a piece of evidence in a crime, you have to have a chain of custody where you sign who had it, what time, what date it was? How come how come there is no such thing with votes? There used to be with paper votes, but you don't have a chain of custody at all with this electronic crap, and that's what they want. So anyway, he goes in with his camera. He walks right in. The doors weren't locked. There was no security guard. Now, mind you, the place he lives at, part of his rent is paid for the security guards. No security guard. This is a polling place. No security, no polling people, nothing. The laptop with the adapter for the voting, for the memory cards and everything is just sitting there, bam, on a table in the middle, no one around it. He walks over to the voting machines and he starts flipping the lids. They're supposed to be locked with a seal until Election Day. This is like 3 or 4 days for Election Day. He's walking around opening the lids. They're all open. Access right to everything. And he's walking around and you hear him on video going, this is so illegal. Like, I should not be able to do any of this.
And you would figure someone would be watching.
He went and exposed it to the people that were running it, and they were like, "Oh, we're not worried. We're keeping an eye on it." He's like, "Do you realize I just admitted that I went there and lifted the lids and stuff? And you people, like, you're supposed to say that's illegal. You're supposed to say we should arrest you for that." And they didn't say anything to him. They acted like it wasn't anything. That is scary. That proves a point. And we put the video up, in the original video. I got to find it because it's saved on a hard drive, one of my folders somewhere. But the original video was on one of our older channels that got ripped down. But it had like 200,000 hits in about 4 days because people were freaking out. And all the comments were the same, like, oh, my God. And this is just one polling station. Can you imagine how many polling stations around the country are like that?
And like you said, they got a memory card system set up in there. That particular guy from Tallahassee was talking about how you could run code off of those memory cards. I mean, it's easy enough, basically to write some code, make it executable, like in Unix code, it's chmod, chmod, and you can make it executable. You just run it, okay? Matter of fact, you could do it as soon as you plug it in. It could automatically execute. So for someone just walking around willy-nilly, no one's paying attention, and he goes tampering with the machines, there is no voting, okay? There is no election. There is selection, okay? And you were talking about Ron Paul and these debates, okay? By the very fact that Ron Paul has original ideas and not a bunch of talking points, he should win all those debates, okay? Because all those guys, they all say the same old things. They use the same language, and they're all for the exact same thing, okay? Keep the wars going, keep the war on drugs going so we can funnel money that way.
I think it was Tim Pawlenty. I think it was him last night. He's a senator, right, Mike? I think it was Pawlenty. He said to Paul, he tried to correct Paul and said, no, you're wrong about Iran. Tried to tell him when, Iran's been our enemy since 1979. And he's like, actually, no, let me correct you. Okay. We've been screwing with Iran since 1953, since we held a coup and overthrew Mohammad Mossadegh and put in the Shah of Iran. And everybody's like, woo! And he's just, the other moron sitting there just looking at the microphone like, dar, that's not my talking point memo. Dar.
Look, Kermit Roosevelt, of course, the relative of the President Roosevelt, okay, wrote a book about it called Counter Coup. Look it up.
Yeah, dude. Kermit Roosevelt. He was a cousin to the president. Now, that's important because he was a CIA asset. And he was used to foment a revolution. Now think about somebody else who was the cousin to somebody who worked for a president and went to a foreign country and then was set up. Susan Lindauer. You see how they use, like I've said before, they use relatives of people that work for the president or of the president or whatever politician itself as assets. People they know they can trust. They keep it in the family.
Oh, they do. Matter of fact, at the time, British Standard Oil said, we would like the American government to handle the invasion of Iran. And, they said, no, really be bad press, not good for us. But, maybe possibly we could get the CIA involved and, they could be the ones responsible for it, kind of like, under the table here. And Kermit Roosevelt wrote a whole dossier, a whole book on it called Counter Coup about how they did it. And, basically for what reasons, what purpose, and the American government got a slice of the money on the back end.
Yeah, and then they didn't like when they got overthrown in 79 and tossed out. And now Iran's where were they harbored terrorists? They're going to kill everyone. Paul made a good point. Why can't they have, atomic weapons? Why? Why can't they have the atom bomb? China, Russia, and everybody else has it. Israel has it. And if they have it, everybody should have it. I'll just leave it at that. We'll pick it up on the other side of the break. We'll be right back. Think about that. If Israel's got nukes, everybody should have them. And that's not an anti-Semitic statement. Oh, welcome back, guys. It's the final segment of the Friday, August 12th, 2011 edition of Down the Rabbit Hole. Again, next month, within the next, say, 3 or 4 weeks, we'll be going to 2 hours. So instead of 10 to 11, it'll be 10 to midnight on Wednesdays and Fridays. So you guys will have me for an extra hour on Wednesdays and Fridays. So I'll be able to get into more in-depth things, have more guests on like I do on Sundays. That way I can give you guys a good 2-hour interview. I don't like to have, like Susan Lindauer's good to come on for an hour. Other guests are good to come on for an hour. But when it comes to in-depth things like, Patton's assassination when I had Robert Wilcox on, or having Ed Haslam on, or doing my interview with Judith, stuff like that takes at least 2 hours. So I'm excited that I'm going to have an extra hour to hang out with you guys and, chill. And I really appreciate everybody, again, in all 71 countries around the world and all 50 states in the good old United States of America here. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you for making me a part of your family, because you bring me into your home and your personal life. And I want to take the time out and thank all of you guys. If it weren't for you, I would be a lone voice in the night and nobody would be listening. So you guys give me the energy to come back every Wednesday and Friday and Sunday and do this, and you guys give me the energy to come back and cover other radio shows for people when hosts got to go, or go on my friends' shows and stuff. You guys are the reason I do it. You give me the energy, so I want to say thank you very much. All right. When it comes down to the whole Iowa thing, just like the dirty tricks that they played in 2008, we got to be on top of it. Now, sorry, my throat's a little dry, guys. We have to be on top of it. Now, this time, we know what to look for. Mike, like we should personally, I think that we can make a difference this time. Even if Paul doesn't win, okay, we can expose how much of a fraud thing I hope he does win. That would be awesome. But if we keep, another part of it is if you believe David Icke, and not just Icke, but other researchers as well, and you understand quantum physics and all this other stuff, and we really do generate our own reality by continuously saying Ron Paul doesn't have a chance in hell, he won't have a chance in hell. We have to believe in him, okay? We have to put out that energy, okay? If he doesn't, don't be disappointed, but we have to at least try and put out that energy. If we don't, again, case in point, look at the difference between Paul in 08 and Paul last night. I think there's a drastic difference. You could see he was fired up last night, and he was taking everybody on that dais. I was impressed with the old man. I gotta say, I was really impressed with him. And, he's a veteran. At least he's realistic. He served. He's been boots on the ground. And for the guys that haven't served, it's not a brainwashing thing or anything like that. When veterans care about other veterans, it's because we understand we're like a different family. We, as far as I'm concerned, I will always take care of another vet and help out and do whatever I can because that's the way you do it. You're a family. You guys have been through the same kind of things, and maybe civilians that weren't in the military don't understand it. It's like just like if you were in college and you have sorority brothers or sisters or sorority sisters or fraternity brothers, you form a bond with them. So, oh, you're an alumni. Oh, we'll take care of you. Well, it's the same thing, except we go a little bit above and beyond the call of duty for each other. At least, I try to, and I know other vets that do. So maybe if more people did, we wouldn't have half the homeless people on the street be, veterans. And more than half of them are between the ages of 18 I'd say 19 because most of them, maybe a couple cases of 18-year-olds, but we'll say like between the ages of like 19 and 25, 26, maybe even 30. Most of them are that young. These guys are coming back to nothing. They lose their house while they're gone. So they're getting shot at trying to earn money, and they come back and their house gets taken away because we have scumbag politicians that sell out to groups like AIPAC and the Federal Reserve and everything else. And it sickens me, and it's time that we stand up and say, I've had enough, I'm mad as hell, and I'm not going to friggin' take it anymore. It's as simple as that. We have to get pissed off. We have to get our balls out of our wives' purse, like I've said many times, put them back on, stand up and say, this is bullcrap. I'm through with it. I'm through with it. I'm done. We have to stand up and say, I'm done. No. Put your hand up like Neo and say no. We have to fall in love with the word no. We have to start standing up for ourselves and stop being such pussies. We need to stand up and defend ourselves. And I'm not saying you have to run around and burn things down and shoot people or anything like that. But I mean, they're pushing it. The elites, the New World Order, they're pushing for that. That's what they're pushing this for. So we need to stand up and stand our ground and dig in before it gets to that point. Otherwise, it's going to get to that point. And they're pushing for that because they've already prepared for it. They have foreign troops. They have Blackwater. They have FEMA camps. They even have idiots in the military that are brainwashed and willing to shoot civilians. We need to wake the police up. We need to wake up the military. We need to stand together because we are all one. Okay? You want to use their own stuff against them? E pluribus unum. E pluribus unum. Latin, out of many, one. You want to kick the crap out of them? We need to stop infighting and arguing amongst ourselves and stand together as one cohesive unit. I've done it. Look at myself, the Intel Hub, Bob Tuskin, Mike Vale, a bunch of guys from Oracle and other hosts on Orion. We've all come together. Other website webmasters. We've all come together. We're all standing up. Because we realize that if we either stand together or we're going to hang separately, okay? Alex Thomas from the Intel Hub, him and I write articles together. We co-write articles together now, and we publish them all over the place. We don't care whose link gets picked up, whatever, because we know that you can put hyperlinks and all other crap in there. It's not about it's about the message. It's about waking people up. And we're more effective as a cohesive unit than trying to, I'm the Intel Hub. Well, I'm Federal Jack. Well, I'm Bob Tuskin. No, there is none of that crap. We don't have our egos. We put that stuff aside and we work together so fluidly, it's disgusting. It really is. Because we don't get in. And everybody has behind-the-scenes tips here or there. But, I mean, there is no egos or anything like that getting in the way. Because we all understand that we are part of something bigger than ourselves.
I think what it comes down to is that the objective is far more important than anything else. The objective of dissemination of information is far more important than who I am or who you are, Popeye. We have to get aside our egos. Okay, just because I do a radio show, I don't do one scheduled anymore, but I get around. It doesn't make me special. Okay, anybody can do this. You have to have appreciation for people. You have to have a good personality. You have to have a good heart. To do this and to sort of bring people in on this. And it's not about that. It's about what's going on around you. And if you can look at what's going on around you and ignore it and do nothing about it, then you'll get what you've always gotten. But if you're willing to stand up, be a man or woman, and do something about it, then you might make a difference. You might or you might not. It's not about that. It's about taking that chance. And there will be repercussions. But that doesn't matter in the long term.
Well, Plato talked about that. He said, and I'm paraphrasing here, but he pretty much said that if you're willing to be, if you're smart and intelligent and you're not willing to get involved in politics, then you deserve the fact that you're going to get ruled by people that are less enlightened than you and more ignorant, and you're going to have more problems. And that's completely, paraphrasing. Go look it up. But Plato talked about it. Now, before the end of the show, because we got a few minutes left, I want to give you guys something. I have it tattooed on my body. I've had it on tattooed on me for almost 10 years now. It's called The Litany Against Fear. It was written by Frank Herbert. It goes back to 1965 from the book Dune. Okay? It's called The Litany Against Fear. Maybe this will help you whenever you're down, whenever you're weak, when you're at your weakest, you're afraid. This will help you. Here we go. The Litany Against Fear. I must not fear. Fear is the mind killer. Fear is the little death that brings total obliteration. I will face my fear. I will permit it to pass over me and through me. And when it has gone past, I will turn the inner eye to see its path. Where the fear has gone, there will be nothing. Only I will remain. Now, I want you guys to take that, and I want you to run with it. Keep that close to your heart. Write it down on a piece of paper. Rip the broadcast from our archive, which will be up in a few minutes after the show airs, and, keep that to yourself. I hope it helps you through the tough times in your life. I hope it gives you strength to stand up, because we all need to stand together and defeat these New World Order scumbags. I'm out of time for today, guys. Thank you for listening. Mike, thanks for coming on the show. I'll see you guys Sunday. And remember, no fear, just love.
This is Sparta!